I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Yo, what's good, everybody? You are now listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. But before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
Are costly cable bills giving you the blues? Well, Magic Streams is your answer. Watch all of your favorite teams live in HD. You will also get access to over 1,500 movies and be able to watch TV shows instantly. Magic Streams. Click the link in our bio to get more information.
He's adding that flavor to your function. D's Daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Flavor to your function. D's Daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink. Wanna kick back, wanna just vibe. Word kick back. Let me first slide to the drink store. Let me just buy DD drink mixes, all of them fire. Fill me up a case, I'm finna drop bread. Marvelous mango, classic and red. Took them to the party, these folks won't leave me alone. They wanting me to share, they better get their own. DD's adding that flavor to your function. DD's Daiquiri. Good vibe, one drink at a time. Good vibe, one drink at a time.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. You can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes, YouTube. Make sure you leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, tell everybody about the show. You can also go to our website, www.manlistenshow.com, to listen to old shows. And you can also hit up our Instagram, click the link in the bio. You can get some of this Man Listen gear as well, help support the show. Make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Marv B. Let's bring the crew in. So, man, what's up, y'all? We down one soldier again. Season the cut, but we highlighted next week. Social media, Black Instagram, Black Twitter was a buzz because of Murder Inc. Murder Inc. was on Drink Champs. Shout out to Drink Champs, one of my favorite podcasts. I like Drink Champs when Nori is sober. When Nori and the guests are sober, but once they start getting drunk, then they kind of get into the weeds and everything.
Hour 3. Yeah, once you get to hour 3.
Yeah. But shout out to Nori and DJ EFN and Drink Champs. But Murder Inc. was on there, Ja Rule and Irv Gotti. And the internet went a buzz about some of the comments Irv Gotti was making about Ashanti. Now, I knew that she had separated from Murder Inc. She did her own thing, but apparently they were in a relationship while this was going on. And Irv was spilling his opinions and spilling his heart because the dude sounded still mad hurt about, what happened with him and Ashanti. He was spilling his heart about what took place and, where they are now. And a lot of people was calling him a cornball, man. They was calling him a cornball for how he, handled the whole situation, how he was talking about Ashanti. So we're just going to talk about that, talk about a couple other things. But I mean, I know when I saw it, I had pretty much the same opinion as everybody else. Then I actually watched the clips, but I'll give my opinion a little bit later. But what y'all think when y'all saw it?
My first thought was, this dude is so lame. And this is what happens when you mess with lames. It's been like decades and he's still talking about her. That's what happens when a dude messes with somebody above their pay grade. But yeah. And then he trying to take credit for the songs and stuff.
That was something. But I mean, to be clear, at that time she was above her pay grade. But that's another discussion.
I'm talking about looks.
Oh, looks wise. But you know, the first thing, honestly, that pops into my head, because I never knew they were in a relationship, never knew none of that occurred, nothing. So it just made me think of your boy Marv and how, you know, people in the music industry, I'm not gonna say take advantage of situations, be like, hey, if you want to get put on, he explicitly said, I didn't put her on because of that. We weren't messing around when I put her on and all that. Irv Gotti said that. But you know, time after time in history, you'll see the woman who's far more talented, far more marketable, ends up in a relationship with a producer or with a, you know, somebody like that. And it's almost like that man feels like he has ownership over that woman. And so for us to be 20 years later and him still coming out speaking on it, I don't know if it's a cornball. I just thought it was whack, you know, because I'm a regular dude, and you ain't gonna hear me speaking about nothing that happened between me and nobody 20 years ago, especially, you know, let alone what might have happened 2 years ago. I could be butthurt, I could be whatever, but I'm not going to speak on it publicly. That's just me.
I think that's the piece, because it's like, obviously Nori, Ja, they're like contemporaries, right? They in Drink Champs, it's not like a formal interview at all, right? So I could see how the line could be blurred in terms of being professional, answering an interview question in a professional manner versus how I'm talking on the Drink Champ show. But at the end of the day, it's hip hop, and hip hop is your profession, and you still need to, you know, maintain some sense of decorum and respectability, especially when you're talking about a woman, especially a Black woman, one of our sisters. When I first saw the clips, because I hadn't had a chance to watch, you know, the episode, because I gotta set down a certain time to watch Dream Champs, because, you know, them episodes is 3 hours, 2 hours long, you know what I mean? So I could take it in certain chunks or what have you. But when I saw the splice clips, I was like, "Dog, man, he's whack as all get out." I will say, watching the actual show and seeing his comments gave me a different opinion about how he felt about Ashanti. And I'll say that he did give her some respect in terms of, you know, she didn't get on because, you know, she was sleeping with me, you know, she was a talented artist. He gave her props, you know, he didn't diminish her. He really didn't diminish her value at all, outside of sometimes, you know, a couple of times referring to her as the B word. I don't, in my personal opinion, maybe y'all disagree on that. I don't think he put her down as an artist or as a person. He really sounded like a man who was scorned. And when he talked about the business side, I could see some of the points that he was making. He was like, "Hey, listen, I helped create the music," you know, because whether we agree with how he handled that, Irv had a track record. Like Lav said, Erika, you know, she was the one that was dating up. He had Ja, he was doing music with DMX, he was doing music with Jay. She was being what do you call it? She was upgrading by getting down with Murder Inc., right?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand when he says, "Hey, listen, as a producer, these artists, they have the ability to tour and make money." He said, "Ja makes tons of money off concerts and touring. Ashanti makes tons of money. What do I have as a producer to continue to recoup?" Right? So had he kept it on that level, had he kept it on, "Hey, listen, we put you down, Ashanti, you know, like, you know, we put you on one of the biggest," because Ja was the biggest hip hop artist out at that time. He was.
Yeah.
So 50 brought him down, right? 50 and the investigation into Supreme and all that.
Fire Festival, yeah.
yeah. But so had he kept it there, I probably could just be like, "All right, dude, you know, you mad at a former artist who happens to be a woman." Because we see like cats talk about, you know, "Hey, dog, you was down with the squad, and then when things got rough, you bounced." When they're talking about fellow dudes, and had he kept it like that, when we started talking about how, like, I was in love with her, And he's smoking. Like, when I saw her on TV with Country Grammar, talking about Nelly, it just got to be like, dog, you just bitter and love scoring, and it just became super whack. This immediately once he did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and then that's
go
an
ahead.
some that could be an abuse of power too. Like you
Yeah.
say, he was already on. He's like, this is an artist. Sometimes you back people into a corner where they feel like they might not really have a choice. And not to say she didn't want to be in that relationship with him, but a lot of times when you use that position of power to have a relationship with somebody, maybe at some point she wanted to leave and really didn't feel like she could because that's her job. That's her label and stuff. So I don't feel sorry for him in any capacity.
No.
And
Yeah.
that's producers. You knew what a producer did when you signed up for it. You knew how they got paid and how they didn't get paid, and that she wasn't going to be your artist for the rest of her life. That happens all the time.
Yeah. I think also it comes to not, and it's not just in the music business, happens to us with our relationships as well. If someone chooses to do something that's in their best interest, and sometimes you feel like you got stabbed in the back, or you feel like somebody turned on you when you're looking at it from your selfish perspective. And people change, people grow, and that situation was not good for her anymore. So at the end of the day, you cherish the good times that you did have, let it go on. And if somebody asks you on a podcast that is being taped, because you say, is this camera on, look directly into the camera and say some stuff. So I while it is not a formal interview, he still knew exactly what he was saying and what he was putting out there. It wasn't like he was just in a casual moment, because he specifically said, I'm gonna say it to this camera,
Yeah.
So hey man, Gotti, just chalk it up, man. It was fun in 2000 to 2004, whenever it lasted. Time to move on.
And I can't be mad at her. I mean, they was in some deep water. Nori brought it up. Like, I remember when she left Murder Inc., right? It was kind of like them cats was being investigated by the feds. And we talked about that on this show before. What's the feds conviction rate, Erika?
Man,
Like 90, 95%, 99%.
man, they do
100,
not
right?
play. They do
Yeah.
not play.
And they was associated with some cats, some street cats.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thought that they was gone. And they made it through it. And she's a civilian. Like, Ashanti grew up a civilian. She wasn't no gangster or in the streets.
No,
that
she was in show business.
Yeah, she's show business. So
Mhm.
that's how can you blame somebody from not wanting to be? Now, I can see, like, okay, it was good when it was good. You just look at the name, Murder Inc. Murder Inc. Right? It's good when it's good, but I can't blame her for saying, hey, listen, I don't want my brand to be associated with federal indictments. Can't be mad at that
At all.
I can't be mad at that. Not
At all.
But the thing that also made it whack to me was, now he mentioned that Ashanti wasn't the reason for his divorce. He was like, I messed with all these other bad bras. There was 2 or 3 other women or whatever. And
in their 20s. Yeah.
I looked it up, and Gotti got divorced in 2013. Now, I don't know how much you owe necessarily your ex spouse or whatever. I don't know if they had children together. I guess we could look that up. But I think it's exceptionally whack to do that to somebody who you took vows with. People aren't perfect. People step out, they cheat, they do whatever, right? But to sit there and just go on and on and on about how many people how many fine women you was bagging while you were still married. While you were still married. And if y'all had children together, and you're waxing poetic about this chick who you were in love with, and how heartsick you were to see her on TV at the Bulls game with Nelly, and you were still married at the time, that just to me, man, that's not manhood. Like, and you got to do a lot better. And I'm really shocked that Ja Rule, who seems like an upstanding dude, right? You know, I've seen interviews with Ja. I mean, he's that, you know, he's had his mishaps, laughed, joked about the Fire Festival and all that. I know my guys, last one of my dudes, and even Eureka, my little sister. If we doing an interview and I'm going off the rails, and y'all know, like, hey, this ain't, hey, you ain't a good look. What you doing right now? I know that y'all gonna like kick me under the table, or y'all gonna try to redirect the conversation so that I can't just, you know, hang myself with my words. I mean, I think Josh, it was cringeworthy to me, man.
I think Ja came out and said he did stop him from calling her the B word a few times or whatever, but
I didn't see that though.
I think,
I didn't hear that when he stopped him. Lad, did you see it?
you
I
know,
just saw where he was, he was trying to kind of play neutral, and he did one time. He said it was kind of, he said Irv has his side of the story and Ashanti has her, basically saying Irv is embellishing a little bit, or probably everything he's saying ain't true. That was what I felt like he was trying to say.
I mean, he was married, so obviously he didn't leave his wife for Ashanti. He wasn't too committed.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing about that is, so in that same vein, Nori has to have some type of conversation with these artists before they come on the show, because no one will come on the show if there were topics they didn't want to discuss that they couldn't say, hey, I'm not discussing this. A lot of artists will veto topics before they do an interview all the time. So you can't tell me that he couldn't have been like, hey, you know what? Ashanti's a sensitive subject. Let's stay off that, especially drunk.
But at this point, it's not really sensitive to him anymore, because no. I mean, when I say it's not sensitive, I mean, he does. If anything, it hurts her more than it hurts him, because he's not in a relationship with anybody per se. He said he has many women, right? He's not married, so I mean, for him, I mean, he could talk about it freely.
I think it tarnishes.
But he shouldn't.
It tarnishes his.
No, he shouldn't. But
right.
I mean, he can. That's how he feels. Yeah,
I think it tarnishes his brand more than it does hers. I mean, and unfortunately, I think there's a lot of dudes that probably support Murder Inc., Ja, or Gotti them, because he kept promoting his upcoming documentary on Murder Inc., which, that should be, pretty interesting, because they, like I said, they had a strong reign in hip hop for years. I think it diminishes his brand way more than it does hers, in my personal opinion.
I'm not saying diminishes. I mean, it puts her, it makes her in the spotlight for it brings negativity to her, is what I'm saying. Like, she shouldn't even been in the conversation. So now she has to answer for these kind of things. You know what I mean? Like, people gonna ask her about that, and that might be something that she never wanted to discuss. She never has discussed it, and so that's what I mean when I say it affects her more than him.
Yeah, right. But okay, I see it from that perspective. I think that she's not above the conversation, because, like, she's trying to, like, re-record the songs. There's a certain thing, like, after, I think it's like after 10, 15, I can't remember the time frame, but after a certain amount of time, an artist can go and reproduce the music, right? And then they get the money from the song. So if you look at certain artists, I'll say like Alexander O'Neal. I know I'm dating myself. Alexander O'Neal has some classic material. When you try to look up some of his songs, you'll see like the same song and it's redone. And it doesn't sound, it's not the same magic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, our brother Alexander is on that narcotic. And the reason why they're doing that is because it allows them to then get all the proceeds. Because if Irv doesn't let go of the masters, then that's their way of circumventing that by re-recording the music. And he talked about that, right? He's salty about that as well.
Yeah.
Which, again, if we're just talking about straight business, I feel you. And I think that she is entitled. I'm gonna say entitled. It's not out of bounds for her to talk about, why don't you want to be a part of Murder Inc. anymore? Why are you disassociating yourself from them? Yeah, that's fair game. But having to talk about her relationship married man, which I'm sure as a young woman, if it's true, right? If it's true that they actually did sleep with one another, I'm sure as a young woman, that's something that she probably did. And maybe at this age, she's probably not as proud of what she did. And like to your point, Lav, it is something that she probably wants no part of.
Yeah. You know, you talk about the re-recording. I didn't know anything about that until probably 2-3 years ago. Taylor Swift did that because she was having an issue. And so she went back and re-recorded like her whole first album and re-released it. And they were saying, yeah, because she didn't have the masters to it or something, but now she can get all the money. I didn't know about Alexander O'Neal, but now I'm interested in how many other artists actually have done that.
Well, Ashanti tried to do it.
Yeah.
Ashanti tried to do it. So
Yeah, no, but I do think that Ashanti is probably going to just ignore it because instead of responding to the internet buzz, her and Nelly did a show together. And I think that people tried to relate that their little flirtatious, whatever they were doing was basically a snub at him crying on the internet about some relationship from 20 years ago. Whereas, I don't know, her and Nelly are still cool or friends or whatever. I thought he had a boo, but either way, I wouldn't respond to it. I definitely wouldn't get on TV and start talking about how I was messing with a married man.
well, I remember when they did the whole Fat Joe Ja Rule versus. Nelly came on the stage, and people were making a big deal about how they kind of kept the distance. And then as soon as Irv starts talking this mess, they on the stage together. So it did seem kind of like petty type of. And I don't know, did they get on stage together before this interview was released, or I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know the timing.
Maybe it's a coincidence, right? Maybe just a coincidence, but yeah, I don't know. 20 years seems a long time. I mean, I get being hurt. I get because okay, so here's the one thing that I respected about Irv, because y'all know me, our listeners don't, but y'all know me. Irv made this one point. He said, "Hey man, I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about something." Most cats don't want to be vulnerable. Most cats won't tell you, "Hey, this hurt me," right? And y'all know that's how I get down. I'll let people know, "Hey man, I was messed up over this or whatever," because I believe we as men shouldn't be bottling stuff up, and just let it go. If you got to cry it out, whatever. So I felt him to that extent, but I still can't rock with putting that woman's business out like that. I can't rock with that.
And then he could have mentioned the situation and his feelings about it without putting a name to it. Everybody could have speculated who he was talking about without actually naming her and including her specifically. He could have been like, I had a relationship with an artist at one point. We've got 20 years to wonder who he could be talking about. You know what I mean?
People would have been thinking he was talking about Vita. They know that wasn't true. They know that wasn't true.
Yeah, because the whole thing started unsolicited. He's like, she bought me this watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like just unsolicited,
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to talk about her. Bring her up. Somebody mention her.
He's salty about it. He's salty.
Yeah, he is.
That's what therapy is for.
Yeah. Well, because I remember when Ashanti first put out that she was re-recording her first album. She put it out there, and one of the blog sites were talking about it, and immediately Irv was in the comments on Instagram talking about how this is just a way to circumvent the producer and this, that, and the other. And everybody was like, dude, don't nobody care if you getting circumvented. You didn't got your money off
right.
And at the end of the day, like I told you, it's hard to recreate the magic that you first created. It just don't sound the same. It don't. The inflection, the tones, the ad-libs or whatever, it's just hard to recreate that. So I don't care.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I don't care if she did recreate it. If she did recreate it, I seriously doubt many people are listening to that.
I still got the OG for her first album in my playlist rotation. I love that first album.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. Ashanti had to grow on me.
I could see that.
Ashanti had to grow on me. I didn't think she wasn't my favorite when it came to like hot chicks, like in terms of looks. I'm definitely not trying to put her down or anything.
Mhm.
She just wasn't on the top of my list. But as she has matured and gotten older, Shanti's a bad looking woman, and she is one fine sister. For real,
She
for real.
definitely filled out.
Yeah, and but she got those genes. Like her mom
Yeah.
was a dancer. Her mom, I want to say, because I read it in Prodigy from in Mobb Deep's book. I want to say her Prodigy's grandmother, like trained like Alvin Ailey dancers. I want to say Ashanti's mother was she was part of that dance troupe. I don't know if she's necessarily an Alvin Ailey dancer, but she was a trained dancer.
Okay.
So Ashanti's, she's been exposed to, showbiz and performing for years.
Yeah.
So, the way her body, that dancer's physique, she's kept that up. If you see Ashanti's mother's fine. For real, for real. So she's definitely grown, and her music has grown. I mean, she didn't put out bad music, but it just was like, okay, it's Ashanti. She's had a good career. She's had a good career.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, consistent.
Yeah.
And they need her. I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, you got a job, but who else outside the job there's Murder ain't got? And you need somebody to bring you that commercial music. Jobs not commercial music, but like, who's this straight commercial, straight laced? Who do you have?
You got to go get Charlie Baltimore.
Man. Charlie Baltimore. But that's another thing though. I mean, it made me, because that when I first heard this, I thought of Charlie Baltimore and Lil Kim, and like, what's the girl? Mill that was on with Jay on that label. I mean, just all these.
Was there rumors about Jay and Emil?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are all these rumors about these women, and it's almost like sometimes they might not be true, but a lot of times they're out there, and we just naturally kind of diminish or say, oh, she did this to get on, or so that was good of him to at least say that's not why she got on. She was hardworking, she was talented and all that, because a lot of times you'll hear things and people will run with it. So
yeah, but you know what? Those other people never said anything about it. Jay never talked about Emil.
I'm just
Biggie wasn't talking about Lil Kim.
Yeah, so
yeah,
they kept their business to themselves.
Yeah, he just seemed mad hurt. He just seemed super hurt. What'd you say?
Therapy.
Yeah.
If only they created something for this.
Yeah. But speaking of therapy, man, it was tough. Brittany Griner was this is a hard pivot right here, but we're talking about our Black sisters. Brittany Griner, she was sentenced to, I think, 9, if not 9.5 years in Russia, for that little bit of weed that she was caught with.
Cannabis oil,
allegedly.
Yeah.
I'm still going to maintain that I don't believe that she was stupid enough to fly over there with that contraband. I don't believe that. I don't trust those Russians. They made up lies during our elections. They just racist white supremacists of the East, in my personal opinion. Joe Biden has put it out there that he's willing to negotiate for her release. I think he put out there that there was her and another U.S. prisoner, some guy, I don't know much about him. I really just focused on Brittany. And the Russians were talking about this Russian arms dealer who's been known to kill Americans. So it's a lot of people that's talking about how it's an uneven swap. And I just said it again. I talked about it in the past before. There's a lot of Black Americans who, it's just disheartening how cold-hearted they could be about this sister in the situation that she is in. And it's really shown me a lot about a lot of people. You can say, yeah, well, she went to another country, you got to know their laws. Absolutely, I agree. I've went to other countries. They tell you all the time, hey, don't mess around in another country. Their laws are different. You don't have rights, and it's going to be hell to pay. I agree with that. But to still not have any sort of compassion for this woman in the situation that she is in, I just don't understand it. I don't.
People don't know the laws in this country. So
Man.
I don't even know why people say that. Like, literally. Like, I mean, most people think that just because weed is legal in their state, that it's legal federally, and it's not. And you can be carted right on off to jail for having marijuana, even with a medical marijuana license, because it's not legal federally, medically, or anything else. So people don't even know what they're talking about in America. So ain't nobody about to go over to Russia and learn all their laws just because I'm about to visit Russia. No one's going to do that. And we all know that the application of the laws is frivolous. Just like, you know, they had that meme about the white girl that went over there with pounds or whatever she had, and she got a fine.
She didn't have pounds, but she had a considerable, she had like double or triple the amount of what Brittany had.
Right.
Right. And she got a fine and went home in a couple months.
Right. Because they wasn't getting the God of War or whatever his name is released for holding that girl hostage or whatever. Because nobody, I mean, you know, it would have been like, okay, like this other dude who's been there for a few years. You never heard about him until Brittany Griner. At least I didn't. Maybe you heard about the dude in Russian custody. I hadn't heard of him. So they definitely seized on opportunity. They definitely applied the law unequally, and the punishment is ridiculous for it. The amount that she,
even in Russia, they said,
yeah, the amount she had was
maybe like 5 years. Maybe.
No, it was like months.
Really? I thought I read something that it was like 5 years, like top.
No,
in
like 5 months or something.
But
Yeah.
you got to think about too, the political climate plays into it, because while Biden is talking about we want Brittany back, let's negotiate for her, he turns around and offers up another $4 billion to the Ukraine. Like, are you really trying to get her back? While you over here, you couldn't have held that off until negotiations is done. Like, you could have, but you really don't care. You really don't care if you get her back or not. You just don't want to have people thinking that you don't care about Black people, but it's all performative in my opinion.
Well, I think that's the reason why he's really even like putting it out there, because they know that they're in trouble with Black people. They do. They haven't really, I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't really been much substantive. Is that how you say the word? Substantive?
It'll work. I'm
gonna go ahead and skip that motherfucker all the way. There hasn't even really been anything concrete that they have done for the Black community. And I think people are, kind of fed up. You ain't canceled them student loans, right?
Nope. That was day one. Day one, I'm gonna do that.
You ain't canceled them student loans, right? I haven't really seen. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna give him his props. Those cops that murdered our sister Breonna Taylor, Biden's Justice Department went after them and they charged them. So I'm gonna give him his props on that. That's not enough though. That's
not enough. Conviction. That's not enough. When they get a conviction, then I'll entertain giving him some semblance of credit for that. But no, you really don't have no control over what they're doing in the Justice Department.
Right. He didn't even know they was raiding your boy, supposedly. So
look, he too busy battling all his 50 million rounds of COVID. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Man, hey.
You outside.
And I've never seen a president wear more sunglasses than him. And I'll be like, man, something's going on. Like, was his eyes red or something, man? Dude wears sunglasses everywhere.
Man, listen, but speaking of convictions, and I do hope that they convict those dudes for real, because that was heinous.
What the crazy part about
it was assassination. They were really there. I saw this clip on Instagram. This Asian guy was talking about it, how they're trying to gentrify that part of Louisville, and how the cops, they basically had the people they wanted. They were just going over there and being antagonistic. And the only guy that got even like a piece of a sentence was because he fired into the apartment.
The white ladies,
he fired into Brittany's apartment through the glass, through the blinds. He couldn't even see what he was shooting at.
Mhm.
And then that's what triggered off everything into happening, right? And now they're getting charged for it by, Merrick Garland and his Justice Department. I'll give Biden credit for that. Y'all may not, but I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Again, we also know we need to wait for convictions. Being charged isn't enough, because we talk about Emmett Till, our ancestor Emmett Till, that white wench that led to him being killed. They found an arrest warrant, I believe.
Yeah, unserved. Yeah,
Unserved from back in the day. And they just put out that they said there's not enough evidence and they're not going to charge her. Okay.
Somebody should just go bonk her on the head. She should die after that.
Hey man, look, listen. I've been done said it. We got all these young G's. They out here. You kill a rapper who get on wax and will say something about your set or your hood or whatever. But we still got Zimmerman walking around here. We still got this chick walking around here. What's up?
Darren Wilson.
Ooh, man.
If we're making a list. If we're making a list, I just want to make
Forgot
sure
about
he's on
him.
it.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. 8 years. It's
Today's
probably
the anniversary.
8 years to the day. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't that so sad that that didn't even get that much play in the news today.
Yeah.
It did in St. Louis.
It did. I would should have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should have. And they got a lot of retaliation from that, because when the brother and sisters stood tall, you notice how almost everybody,
Yep. A lot of them passed.
All the local people,
Mm-hmm.
all the local people who was rallying and organizing and mobilizing the people. I ain't talking about the ones who the Black Lives Matters and what's that boy's name? They used to come in with the little blue
D-Ray.
D-Ray.
I ain't talking about them, but I'm talking about the Darren Seals, right?
Rest in peace. That was my client.
What about the cat? They even got the dude who was sitting there with the bag of Red Hot Ripley's. And remember, they shot the tear gas, and there was the picture of him picking it up and throwing it back away from the children.
Mm-hmm.
They even got him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They even got him. So yeah, I mean, it's tough out here, man. But at the end of the day, y'all, we all we got, and we have to stop this infighting in the Black community. I mean, when we talked about Irv Gotti and Ashanti, and I could see somebody saying, like, well, y'all talk about, the empowerment and enlightening the Black community. How is celebrity gossip a part of that? The way we tie it all in is, if we continually going after one another, not building one another up, we're steadily weakening our power base. They don't fear us when we're fighting one another. They fear us when we're together. Well, after they killed Dr. King, after they killed Malcolm X, you know what they went after next? They went after the Black family. So when we together, we're much more stronger. We're much stronger together than we are divided. So I just hope that we get it together. I hope we get our sister Brittany home as soon as possible. And I hope them cops that murdered Breonna Taylor get thrown under the jail. So
Like the Ahmaud Arbery.
shout out to the life sentences to those white men that killed Ahmaud Arbery. Black Twitter is undefeated. They undefeated. You saw where they had Jodeci singing "Life, Life."
No.
So it's the clip. I don't know if you see the clip where KC and JoJo was singing "Life" on the Tom Joyner show, sounding crazy as hell. They posted them singing "Life" all crazy, right? And they had those three. I almost said something that would get us canceled, but they had those three dudes under there, and two of them got life plus 9 or plus 7 years, and one 30-something years. So shout out to them. Hope you have a hard time, and them brothers in the yard.
Right. One of them had the nerve to say he was scared that he was going to get killed in federal penitentiary. Maybe so. I mean,
first of
They're
all,
a little prophetic.
First of all, I hope so. Second of all, they did you a favor, because Fed time is much better than going to do state time with with them young gladiators in the state pen.
All day, every day.
I do club fed before I do state time, for sure.
I won't do either, but yeah.
I ain't doing none of it. Yeah, I ain't doing none
No, for real. No, I ain't trying to, I ain't never seen it. I ain't never been arrested, none of that.
You gonna find me in Cuba.
But anyway, I think we talked about it. Make sure y'all follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, all other podcast streaming platforms. Watch the show on YouTube. Leave a comment. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think about the show. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. If you got somebody that you want to have us interview to come on the show, shout them out. We'll get them on the show. We'll talk to them. We just want to keep, pushing the agenda of Black empowerment, Black upliftment, and getting ourselves to where, that's it. We just want to keep pushing the agenda of Black empowerment and Black upliftment. So we continue to do that. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
I see.
Shout
Free
out.
BG. Free BG.